Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome all to today's reading from Chaitanya Charitamrit, Madhya Lila, chapter 5, verse 28. We shall be continuing our reading from rather. Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. भीष्मकेरा इच्छा कृष्णे कन्या समर्पिते पुत्रेरा विरोधे कन्या नारीला अर्पिते. King Bhishma wanted to give his daughter Rukmini in charity to Krishna, but Rukmi, his eldest son, objected. Therefore, he could not carry out his decision. Purport: as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 52, verse 25. Bandhunam ichchatam datum Krishnaya bhaginim nripa tato nivarya Krishna dvid Rukmi chaityam amanyata. King Bhishma of Vidarbha wanted to offer Krishna his daughter Rukmini, but Rukmi, the eldest of his 5 sons, objected. Therefore, Bhishma withdrew his decision and decided to offer Rukmini to the king of Chedi, Shishupal, who was a cousin of Krishna's. However, Rukmini conceived a trick. She sent a letter to Krishna asking him to kidnap her. Thus, in order to please Rukmini, who was his great devotee, Krishna kidnapped her. There ensued a great fight between Krishna and the opposing party headed by Rukmini's brother Rukmi. Rukmi was defeated, and because of his harsh words against Krishna, was about to be killed, but he was saved at the request of Rukmini. However, Krishna shaved off all Rukmi's hair with his sword. Sri Balram did not like this, and so to please Rukmini, Balram rebuked Krishna. Verse 29. Bada Vipra kahe kanya mora nij dhana dite nishedhibe kaun jana. The elderly Brahman said, my daughter is my own property if I choose to give my property to someone who has the power to stop me. Verse 30. Tomake kanya diba sabake kari tiraskar samashay na kar tumi karha svikar. My dear boy, I will give my daughter to you in charity, and I will neglect the position of all others. Don't doubt me in this regard, just accept my proposal. Verse 31. Chota Vipra kahe yadi kanya dite mana Gopalera age kaha e satya vachana. The younger Brahman replied, if you have decided to give your young daughter to me, then say so before the Gopala deity. Verse 32. Gopalera age Vipra kahite lagila tumi jan nij kanya ihare ami dila. Coming before Gopal, the elderly Brahman said, my dear Lord, please witness that I have given my daughter to this boy. Purport: in India, it is still the customs for a daughter to be offered to someone simply by word. This is called Vagdatta. This means that the father, brother, or guardian of a girl has given his word that she will be married to a certain man. Consequently, that daughter cannot be married to anyone else. This is reserved by the virtue of the honest words of the father or guardian. There are many instances in which parents of a female child have given someone a verbal promise that their daughter will be married to his son. Both parties agree to wait until the boy and girl are grown up and the marriage takes place. Following this custom, which is very old in India, the elderly Brahman promised to give his daughter to the younger Brahman in charity, and he promised this before the Gopala deity. In India, the custom is to honor any promise made before the deity. Such a promise cannot be cancelled. In Indian villages, whenever there is a quarrel between 2 parties, they go to a temple and settle the quarrel. Whatever is spoken in front of the deity is taken to be true, for no one would dare lie before the deity. This same principle was followed in the battle of Kurukshetra. Therefore, in the very beginning of the Bhagavad-Gita, it is stated, Dharam Kshetre Kurukshetre. By not becoming God conscious, human society is deteriorating to the lowest standard of animal life. This Krishna consciousness movement is very essential to reviving God consciousness among the general populace. If people actually become God conscious, all quarrels can be settled outside of court, as happened in the case of two Brahmanas whose disagreement was settled by the witness Gopala. Verse 33, Chota Vipra Bale Thakura Tumi Mora Sakshi Toma Sakshi Bulaimu Yadi Anyatha Dekhi. Then the younger Brahman addressed the deity, saying, My dear Lord, you are my witness. I shall call for you to testify if it is necessary later on. So that's why we know the Gopala deity is called, that Gopala deity is called Sākṣi-Gopāla. And far as his traditions are concerned, the word of giving the girl away to someone, they are changing. The society is changing, and with times everything else is changing. Verse 34, Eta bali dui jane chalila deshere desher Guru Budhaye Chota Vipra Bahu Seva Kare. After these talks, the two Brahmins started for home. As usual, the young Brahmana, accompanied by the elderly Brahman, as if the older Brahman were a guru, spiritual master, and rendered him service in various ways. Verse 35. Deshe Asi Dui Jane Gela Nij Ghare Keta Dine Bada Vipra Chintit Antare. After returning to Vidyanagar, each Brahman went to his respective home. After some time, the elderly Brahman became very anxious. Verse 36. Tirthe Vipre Vakya Dilun Kemate is it Kemate Satyahaya Stri Putra Janati Bandhu Janibe Nishchaya. He began to think, I have given my word to a Brahman in a holy place, and what I promised will certainly come to pass. I must now disclose this to my wife, sons, and other relatives and friends. Verse 37. Ekadine nij loka ekatra karila ta sabar age sab vritant kahila. Thus one day the elderly Brahman called for a meeting of all of his relatives and friends, and before them all he narrated what had taken place in front of Gopala. Verse 38. Shuni sab goshti tar kare hahakar aiche baat mukhe tumi na anibe ar. When those who belonged to the family circle heard the narration of the old Brahmana, they made exclamations showing their disappointment. They all requested that he not make such a proposal again. Verse 39. Niche kanya dile kula yabeka nash shunina sakala lok karibe upahas. They unanimously agreed, if you offer your daughter to a degraded family, your aristocracy will be lost. When people hear of this, they will make jokes and laugh at you. Verse number 40. Viprabale tirtha vakya kemane kari an ye ha uk seha uka ami diba kanya dan. Seha uka means let it take place, and yeha uk means whatever may be. Translation: The elderly Brahman said, how can I undo the promise I made in a holy place while on pilgrimage? Whatever may happen, I must give him my daughter in charity. Verse 41. Chnati loka kahe mora tomake chadiba stri putra kahe visha khaya mariba. The relatives unanimously said, if you give your daughter to that boy, we shall give up all connection with you. Indeed, his wife and sons declared, if such a thing happens, we shall take poison and die. Basically, blackmailed by his family. Verse 42. Viprabale Sakshi Bolana karibeka nyaya jiti kanya labe mora vyartha dharmahaya. The elderly Brahman said, if I do not give my daughter to the young Brahmana, he will call Sri Gopalji as a witness, thus he will take my daughter by force, and in that case my religious principles will become meaningless. Verse 43, Putra bale pratima sakshi seha duradeshe ke tomara sakshi dibe chinta karakise. His son replied, the deity must be a witness, but he is in a distant country. How can he come to bear this witness against you? You are so anxious over this. Verse 44, Nahi kahi na kahiyo e mithya vachana sabe kahibe mora kichu naika smarana. You do not have to flatly deny that you spoke such a thing. There is no need to make a false statement. Simply say that you do not remember what you said. Verse 45, Tumi yadi kaha ami kichui jani tabe ami nyaya kari brahmanere jini. If you simply say, I do not remember, I shall take care of the rest by argument. I shall defeat the young Brahmana. Purport, the son of the elderly Brahman, was an atheist and a follower of the Raghunath Smriti. He was very expert in dealing with pounds, shillings, pence. But he was fool number one. Consequently, he did not believe in the spiritual position of the deity, nor did he have any faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, as a typical idol worshipper, he considered the form of the Lord to be made of stone or wood. Thus he assured his father that the witness was only a stone deity and was not capable of speaking. Besides that, he assured his father that the deity was situated far away and consequently could not come to bear witness. In essence, he was saying, have no anxiety, you do not have to lie directly, but you should speak like a diplomat, like King Yudhishthir when he spoke to Dronacharya. Ashwathama hata iti gajaha. Following this principle, simply say that you do not remember anything that and are completely unaware of the statements given by the young Brahmana. If you make the background like that, I shall know how to fill in the argument and defeat him by word jugglery. Thus I shall save you from having to give your daughter to him. In this way, our aristocracy will be saved. You have nothing to worry about. Verse 46, Eta shuni viprera chintita haila mana ekanta bhave chinte vipra gopala charana. When the elderly Brahman heard this, his mind became very agitated. Feeling helpless, he simply turned his attention to the lotus feet of Gopala. Verse 47, Mora dharma raksha paye na mare nijjana dui raksha kara Gopal laino sharana. The elderly Brahman prayed, My dear Lord Gopal, I have taken shelter of your lotus feet and therefore I request you to please protect my religious principles from disturbance and at the same time save my kinsman from dying. Verse 48, E mata vipra chitte chintite lagila ar dina lagu vipra tanra gare aila. The next day, the elderly Brahman was thinking deeply about this matter when the young Brahmana came to his house. Verse 49, Asina param bhakti namaskar kari vinay karina kahe kara dui yudi. The young Brahman came to him and offered respectful obeisances. Then very humbly folding his hands, he spoke as follows. Verse 50, Tumi mora kanya dite karyach angikar ebe kichu nahi kah ki tumhare vichar. You have promised to give your daughter in charity to me. Now you do not say anything. What is your conclusion? Verse 51, Eta shuni sahi vipra rahe mondhari tanra putra marite aila hate thenga kari. Well, it is not that thenga which we know in Hindi, which is actually showing the thumb. Thenga in Bengali means stick. After the young Brahman submitted this statement, the elderly Brahman remained silent. Taking this opportunity, his son immediately came out with a stick to strike the younger man. Verse 52. Are adham mora bhagani chah vivahite vamana hena chanda yena chah ta dharite. The son said, "Oh, you are most degraded. You want to marry my sister just like a dwarf who wants to catch the moon." Verse 53. Thena dekhi say vipra palan gela ar dina gramera lok ekatra karila. Seeing a stick in the hand of the son, the younger Ramana fled. The next day, however, he gathered together all the people of the village. Verse 54. Sab loka bada vipre dakiya anila tabe se raghu vipra kahite lagila. All the people of the village then called for the elderly Brahman and brought him to their meeting place. The young Brahman then began to speak before them as follows. Verse 55. Inha mora kanya dite karyache angikar ebe yena dena pucha inhar vyavahar. This gentleman has promised to hand over his daughter to me, yet now he does not follow this promise. Please ask him about his behavior. Verse 56. Tabe se viprere puchila sarvajana kanya kene na deha yadi diyacha vachana. All the people gathered there and asked the elderly Brahman, "If you have already promised to give him your daughter in charity, why are you not fulfilling your promise? You have given your word of honor." Verse 57. Vipra kahe shuna loka mora nivedan kabe ki baliyachi mora nahika smaran. The elderly Brahman said, "My dear friends, please hear that I have to submit, I do not exactly remember making a promise like that." Verse 58. Eta shuni tandra putra vakya chala pana pragalabha haya kahe sammukhe asina. When the elderly Brahman's son heard this, he took the opportunity to juggle some words. Becoming very impudent, he stood before the assembly and spoke as follows. Verse 59. Tirtha yatraya pitara sange chila bahu dhana dekhi e dushtera laite hela mana. While touring various holy places of pilgrimage, my father carried such money. Seeing the money, this rogue decided to take it away. Verse 60. Ara keha sange nahi e sange ekala dutura khauyana bape karila pagala. There was no one besides this man with my father. Giving him an intoxicated known as the tura to eat, this rogue made my father mad. Verse 61. Sabadhana lena kahe chore laila dhana kanya dite chahiya che uthaila bachana. Having taken all my father's money, this rogue claimed that it was taken by some thief. Now he's claiming that my father has promised to give him his daughter's charity. Verse 62. Tumar sakal lok karah vichar mora pitrar kanya dite yogya ki thare. All of you assembled here are gentlemen. Please judge whether it is befitting to offer this poor Brahmana my father's daughter. Verse 63. Eta shuni lokera mane haila samshaya sambhave dhana lobhe loka chade dharma bhaya. Hearing all these statements, all the people gathered there became a little doubtful. They thought it was quite impossible that these narration for riches are one might give up his religious principles. So they're hoping that because of these, the attraction, because of the attraction for riches, one might give up his religious principles. Verse 64. Tabi chota vipra kahe shuna mahajana Nyaya jinibaye kahe asatya vachana. At the time, the young Brahman said, "My dear gentlemen, please hear. Just to gain victory in argument, this man is lying." Evipra mora sevaya tushta yabe haila tore ami kanya dibe apne kahila. This is verse 65. Translation: Being very satisfied with my service, this Brahman said to me of his own accord, "I promise to hand over my daughter to you." So we'll continue reading from verse 66 onwards next time. Thank you for joining. And today is also Chiradahi festival, famous festival of Panihati, where chipped rice, which we also call poha, is offered to Lord with condensed milk or yogurt and lots of fruits. You can check some recipes on the net if you want to offer these to deities. And today was a day Raghunath Das Goswami was asked by Nityananda Prabhu to go and distribute this in Panihati. So it became very famous, known as Chiradahi Festival of Panihati. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.